It seems to be that there's two basic foods that we see a lot when it comes to bad cooking channels. One, which we've covered quite a bit recently, is macaroni and cheese. And as I've said before, I tend to cover mac and cheese because it can be such a simple or complex dish, and it gives a good impression of somebody's standing in the culinary creativity and competence area. The other food, however, we haven't really talked much about. Sure, we've seen Jack make some lazy man versions of it, and Kay made her, I wouldn't even justify calling it that, but the second food I'm talking about is pizza. Another dish that should be really simple and easy to do for the most part, but is also extremely easy to mess up in the process. So today I want to go back to talk about a channel that we've only covered once so far. The channel that just oozes the essence of horror and uneasiness. Paul4608. If you didn't watch the previous video, I would highly recommend going and watching that, but if you don't want to do it, basically the gist of Paul's, which we assume is his name's, channel is it's all strangely unsettling videos, most of which are recorded on VHS or camcorder and then digitized and uploaded to his channel, which makes the whole thing reek of some indie dev's analog horror ARG, even though it's not. This is just how he created his content. Unfortunately, this is one of the videos that uses a more modern camcorder, so we won't get to fully encompass that horror vibe, but I think it's still worth a watch nonetheless. So without further ado, let's jump straight into Paul4608's Deluxe Pizza. Before we begin, as always, make sure to like and subscribe. We're trying to reach 5K as our next milestone, so let's see how quick it'll take us to reach that. If you've considered supporting the channel further, why don't you check out the links we have in the description down below to either become a member of the channel or sign up to become a Patreon patron. Thanks for your support.
Hello, today I'm going to show you how to make a pizza with a difference. What I've done is, I put some meat in the oven for 2 hours. That's been cooking for 2 hours in oven.
I, in all seriousness, cannot identify what type of meat that is. I don't want to say chicken because it doesn't look like it's molded around bone, but it's a very odd shape if it was like steak or pork, unless he just took a whole hunk of meat and threw it in the oven.
And we're making a pizza, and it's a special pizza flour pastry mix. I'll explain as we go on.
Now remember, a good majority of the things I say here are jokes. They're humor. They're poking at the oddity of the video. That is the bone saw that Paul uses to hack up the victims he keeps in his basement. I've never seen anybody other than food product reviewers and critics use an electric knife like that. Unless you're an older folk who can't really cut their meat through all that well in giant chunks like this. And yeah, Paul's on the older side, but at the time of filming this, I'd say he's probably only around late 40s, early 50s, judging by how he's appeared in other older videos. I just feel a bit uneasy knowing that he's had this tool lying around this whole time. Look how easily it cuts through the meat.
You need to do this while it's still red hot our oven, so we don't use a cook chill method. Cut your meat or your beef into cubes.
Okay, so he confirms that it is beef. Say what you want about your cooking temperature preferences and all that stuff. Some people make the joke of, oh, I want it straight off the cow, or I want it mooing, things like that. Judging by the look of the inside where he cut the beef, that cow has been dead for at least a decade. There is no juice left in that thing whatsoever. Mind you, he is putting this on a pizza, so it's going to go in the oven to bake for even longer, unless for whatever reason he decides to top the pizza with his beef after it cooks.
And then you put it into the blender. You don't want a lot. Just put your meat straight into the blender. And beef is one of the few things that'll actually blend.
Why is he blending his beef? If you wanted finer, more chopped beef, just go with ground beef. Ground beef topped pizzas aren't that uncommon. Also, if you didn't catch this statement.
And beef is one of the few things that'll actually blend.
What do you mean by that, Paul? Are you referring to one of the only meats that'll actually blend? What other meats have you tried to blend, Paul? I'm sure he's blended chicken, maybe pork, maybe some primates of some sort.
Just cut another slice off
The way the camera is rocking back and forth after he sets it down, the Dutch angle it is so artistically taken makes it feel like a shot out of a found footage horror film, straight down to the killer cutting some mystery meat with an electronic power tool.
Put the bloody thing in. Beef is one of the few things that actually works in a blender.
Yes, you already said that, Paul, and now that you have said it twice, I am even more worried and concerned.
You stick it out onto your plate, and it'll end up like that when it's been in blender. So after we've finished with our dodgy camera work, that's got it all out, you want to spoon your flour on.
Spoon your flour onto what, Paul? He probably misspoke. He's done that before.
1 or 2 dessert spoons of flour on should do it. You spoon your flour on like that. Mix it all in. This is going to be your base for your pizza.
I'm sorry? Are you making pizza crust out of flour and ground beef? You know how you can get pizza crust that's cauliflower or shredded chicken and it's supposed to be healthier and gluten-free and all that stuff? Paul probably saw that as he walked through the grocery store one day and thought to himself, well, I don't quite like chicken. Maybe I could try that with beef. Yeah, I know I'm not in the right region with that accent, but anyway, and never stopped to think why or how those alternate crusts were made.
Then just add your water a drop at a time in the middle.
Oh, my bad. How could we forget that we need to add water to it, otherwise it's not going to bind together. I will spare you all the agony of watching him mix this, but just bear in mind that he adds a few more spoonfuls of flour and quite a bit more water to the mixture as he goes along.
It's normally a roll pastry stuff like this out pastry or a pizza base, you normally roll it out, but doing it this way saves a lot of mess and it saves a lot of time as well.
Yeah. Okay, Paul. Yep. Making your pizza dough, crust, base, whatever he wants to call it, out of ground beef and flour is a lot more time-saving than making pizza dough the normal way. Sure, but at what cost? At the cost of your dignity? At the cost of my sanity? At the cost of eating ground beef mixed with flour. Also, he mentions that he put margarine spread on the plate to grease it up. Just know that there's quite a bit of oil and fat going into this as well. And he does mention this as he breaks out his excellent chef technique of the double beef flour folding spoons.
I chopped a pineapple earlier. And just chop it into thin cut slices like that.
Pineapple on pizza is a big cause of discourse for almost every online community. Whatever your take on pineapple on pizza is, I think we can all safely say that that is not the worst part about this pizza so far.
Thin cut slices of pineapple. You need about 3 or 4. You notice I'm using an old pineapple for this because pineapple rings that you get in a tin, they tend to be a bit sort of metallic-y tasting.
I will give Paul credit where credit is due for him actually cutting up and skinning a pineapple. If you've ever worked with a whole pineapple before, you know that it is a very tricky and messy situation to go through just for the little bit of pineapple that you do end up getting out of it sometimes. Kudos to him for sticking through that process. Then again, I am remiss to mention that Paul probably has some experience skinning difficult, moving, leaking objects and things.
Just arrange these segments round edges. Just press slightly down and arrange them round edges. Using a whole pineapple is a bit too much actually, so you've got a bit of pineapple left over.
If you or a loved one look at this image and think of pizza, congratulations, you're entitled to surgery to correct the worst cataracts on the planet. I think we all need to chip in or start a fundraiser to get Paul a new pair of glasses.
Next I'm going to peel some garlic. We're going to add garlic to this. Originally it were going to be mushrooms, but they didn't have any mushrooms at the supermarket.
Look at how reckless he is with his knife, his tools. That is a man who uses it to get inside of what he wants, and then is only hyperfixated on finishing the job with his bare hands. This is the man that we saw rip an onion apart in two halves with his bare hands prior.
Just peel your garlic off. And you stand it between your pineapple slices.
Hey Paul, that's a full clove of garlic. Apologies for stating the obvious, but that is another full clove of garlic.
Just peel skins off.
Okay, that's 3 full cloves of garlic on a pizza. Too many for me to ignore, Paul. What are you doing? At the very least, I guess this confirms that he isn't the vampire type of serial killer.
You don't want so much garlic because it's fairly strong tasting.
You don't want too much garlic, as it's extremely strong tasting, he says, placing down his 6th clove of garlic onto his pizza base. Pray for the poor women, or men, that Paul fancies, if he's married maybe. Pray for anybody that encounters this man within the next, I was gonna say 72 hours, but probably about the next 2 weeks, because this man is going to smell exclusively of garlic and pineapple.
It's a bit middle like that. And if you want, you can put a cheese topping over it as well.
Oh, my mistake. I thought he had used all the garlic cloves already. But no, we have to get that one last piece. That is, I believe, a full head of garlic on one pizza. Maybe more.
Then you add your cherry tomatoes. Just cut your cherry tomatoes in half. Add your cherry tomatoes. And it's not like your normal pizza, you know. Actually, it probably tastes better than your normal pizza.
I did not know that Paul was playing the one of us tells the truth and one of us tells the lie game by himself. Can you guess which statement is the truth and which statement is a lie?
And it's not like your normal pizza, you know. Actually, it probably tastes better than your normal pizza.
Because golly gee whiz, I sure can't.
Put your cherry tomatoes in like that. Like I say, you can grate some cheese and add cheese over it. You need to be fairly quick when you're doing this.
How is he going to cook this? How does he transfer this pizza from the plate into the oven? Does he just put the plate in the oven?
You can grate some of your beef. Grate some of your beef over the top, or you can grate cheese. This gives it that nice touch, and beef's apparently still warm, so this will go straight in oven.
Well, that's the first time I've ever seen somebody use a cheese grater to grate beef. Another example of a tool that he happens to have on hand, not because he's using it to cook most of the time, but as an instrument of malicious intent. Again, all jokes, YouTube. These are all jokes.
And it'll be a really nice pizza. You'd pay a fortune for this in a restaurant, you really would.
If I paid any amount of money in a restaurant to order a pizza, and I got one that looked like that, I would burn the restaurant down to the ground. Not with matches, not with a torch, but from the flames created by me grinding my teeth so hard in anger and frustration at what has just been set down in front of me.
But here you can make it for the price of a joint of beef, which you can use later. Your pineapple. You've got a lot of pineapple left over, but you can use that later, so...
He put so much shaved beef, I guess you could call it, over top of it. And now it just looks like a giant lump of mush versus ingredients placed on top of a lump of mush. You can't distinguish between the shaved beef on top and the beef that was used to create the base.
I think it looks alright like that. And you put that in oven on gas mark 4 for about half an hour, and that's it, and thanks for watching.
And unfortunately, like most of Paul's videos, that's where it ends. We don't get some sort of taste test segment. We don't even get to see the fully done product. So for today, that's where we're gonna end the video as well. I know that's kind of anticlimactic, but hey, so is life when you're trapped in Paul's basement. That is going to do it for this video, folks. Make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment down below if you want me to take a look at any other of Paul's videos in particular, or any other videos on YouTube or strange television shows that you think are weird or interesting that you want me to take a look at. As always, thanks y'all for supporting and sticking around, and I hope to see y'all in the next one. See ya!